Hello, I'm Maxwell Rothbart, Doc History, and I'm standing here at the Alamo in the middle of San Antonio, Texas. A little bit this way is the famed San Antonio Riverwalk, and behind me are a slew of shops and hotels. But right here, the Alamo remains one of the great pieces of American history. The story goes like this. In the 1820s, Stephen Austin, a man from Missouri, came up with a great idea. He decided that he was going to go to Texas, which was then part of Mexico, and buy cheap land for farming. He went to the Mexican government with his proposal that he bring over all these Americans who wanted to farm land inexpensively, and Mexico said, "We will let you buy this land in exchange for a number of concessions. Number one, you become Mexican citizens. Number two, you pay Mexican taxes. Number three, you convert to Roman Catholicism. And number four, you do not bring slaves into Texas." But the Americans still considered themselves to be American citizens and still practiced Protestant Christianity. In other words, they were not going along with the terms set aside by the Mexican government. As all of this was going on, and the Mexicans kept saying to the Americans, "You need to pay your taxes, you can't bring your slaves here," and the Americans were ignoring it, a new government came into power in Mexico, led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. Santa Anna was a dictator, and he was determined to make the Americans living in Texas follow the terms of the agreement. He made life difficult for the Americans living here, and in 1834, Stephen Austin went to Mexico City to negotiate with Santa Anna. Santa Anna, though, would hear nothing of negotiation and threw Austin in prison. This did not bode well for the cause of the Americans in Texas. What happened next is interesting. In the town of Gonzales, a little bit east of here, there was a cannon in the town center. The people of Gonzales announced their intention not to pay their taxes in protest of the Mexican government's treatment of Austin. The Mexican authorities came in order to seize the town cannon. Well, the people of Gonzales revolted against Mexico and soon moved over to the nearby town of Goliad, where the revolt continued. Here in San Antonio, the capital of the Texas province, the revolt was headquartered inside of the Alamo. The Alamo was originally a church that had been fortified by the Mexicans when the Mexicans were having their own independence movement against Spain. And now, frontiersmen such as Jim Bowie, after whom the Bowie knife is named, and Davy Crockett.
Davy Crockett, the man who don't know fear,
stationed themselves here at the Alamo in order to lead the fight against the Mexicans. Santa Anna, though, was ruthless. He came here and surrounded the Alamo fortress, and for 13 days, the defenders inside the Alamo fought as they ran out of food and water, having been cut off from the rest of the city by Santa Anna. Finally, after 13 days, they could take it no more and surrendered. Santa Anna accepted their surrender and then killed them all. This was a great tragedy. Santa Anna, though, was not done. He moved on to Goliad, where he did the same thing to the people in Goliad, killing people regardless of age and gender. Santa Anna felt like he had taught the Americans here in Texas a lesson. He was wrong. What had happened, interesting, was next. Texas, having declared its independence from Mexico, was led by a president named Sam Houston. Houston having been a former governor of Tennessee. Houston led the Texans in a revolt, now, against Santa Anna, surprising them at San Jacinto, while Santa Anna was taking a nap. Surprised, the Battle of San Jacinto took only 18 minutes. During the course of the battle, the Texans could be heard shouting, "Remember the Alamo, remember Goliad." This battle cry brought them to victory. Santa Anna was captured and, in exchange for his release, granted Texas independence as its own country. 9 years later, in 1845, Texas would become a U.S. state. But the most memorable part of it all was the siege and surrender and massacre at the Alamo in February of 1836. So next time someone asks you about the Texas Revolution, you can tell them to remember the Alamo. For Doc History, I'm Maxwell Rothbart.